Chapter 111, Crossing the River of the Dragon. Accepting a disciple? Mu Qingping suddenly realized Tang Xiu's intentions. But she knew nothing about the cultivation method practiced by cultivators. She didn't know whether this kind of cultivation practice would be good or bad for her daughter, so she did not dare to easily agree. Tang Xiu, as if he was able to see through Mu Qingping's thoughts as he slowly said, "I understand your thoughts. But you can cast away your worries. Your daughter was born to be a cultivator. I've helped her change her body's condition before, but it will only temporarily suppress the chilling frost energy inside her body. If we want to thoroughly cure her, she must cultivate an immortal cultivation technique. The frost energy will not cause any injuries to her and instead, give her huge benefits. I promise you." When Mu Qingping heard it, she immediately nodded in agreement. In her heart, her daughter was the biggest and the most important thing of all. As long as her daughter was safe and healthy, she would absolutely agree to everything. Tang Xiu smiled, "To tell you the truth, I really admire you. I can see a great admirable, motherly love from you. In fact, I was also brought up from a single-parent family, interdependent with my mother. Please feel relieved and trust me. You will be gladdened for today's decision in the future." Mu Qingping then replied with a doubt, "Then, shouldn't a ceremony of apprenticeship be held?" Tang Xiu said, "The ceremony of apprenticeship is simple, kowtowing and serving tea is enough." With that, he looked at Gu Yin and asked with a smile, "Are you willing to worship me as your master? And follow my practices of the immortal cultivation technique? I should make it clear that if you worship me as your master, you will be Tang Xiu's personal disciple. The immortal cultivation path is very long and would take hundreds of years. Along with the advancement in cultivation practice and your cultivation base becoming more powerful, you could live at least 1,000 years and even for millions of years. And in taking the cultivation path, you will encounter innumerable hardships." Gu Yin exclaimed with astonishment, "People who practice the immortal cultivation path can live so long?" Tang Xiu said with smile, "Yes, of course. As long as they don't die halfway, living for millions of years is also possible." Gu Yin then asked again, "Can my mother practice immortal cultivation?" Tang Xiu looked at Mu Qingping's eyes as he nodded and said, "Naturally she also can practice. However, her age has passed the best time for cultivation practice, so her future achievement won't be too high. Even if I give my assistance, at best, she would only be able to ascend to the immortal world and become only an ordinary immortal." Gu Yin nodded repeatedly and then knelt in front of Tang Xiu. She respectfully knocked her head 3 times and then took a cup of tea on the coffee table. Without dropping a drop of tea, she then exclaimed, "Master, please drink my tea." Tang Xiu looked at the tea with satisfaction and drank it down. He received Gu Yin as a disciple to nurture her as a personal disciple and not an unofficial disciple. It was because of her sacred body of twin pulse-ice phoenix. After all, if she was to be nurtured well, she would highly likely become a great celestial empress in the immortal world. Someone who would be above trillions of immortals and celestial beings. More importantly, she would also become a formidable helper when he returned to the immortal world. Those number of people posed formidable strength. This was the most fundamental truth. Previously, he did not want to accept disciples, and instead cultivated his own power and influence. However, this led to his own demise as he fell under his old friend's betrayal, easily falling down and failing his ascension tribulation. If it were not for the destiny that his soul and consciousness returned back, perhaps his soul would have vanished just like ashes and smoke extinguished by the wind. Mu Qingping did not even think about the matter of practicing cultivation. What she cared about was her daughter's future. So when Tang Xiu had finished drinking tea and taken her daughter as his disciple, only then did she ask, "Divine Dr. Tang, you said you will arrange for our life in the future?" Along the way to this villa area, Tang Xiu had thought about this problem, and he already had an idea in mind. Then, he slowly asked, what was your previous occupation, what kind of job? Mu Qingping said, I was an administrator for a foreign enterprise. Tang Xiu said, if I want you to be my housekeeper, would you accept it? A housekeeper? Mu Qingping was stunned. She didn't expect that Tang Xiu would arrange such an assignment for her. After sobering up, she said with a wry smile, I don't know much about housekeeping. Tang Xiu said, you have two options. First, I'll send you abroad to learn and study about it from a butler training organization. And second, I'll hire specialists and professionals for you to carry out your training separately. Which one do you intend to choose? Mu Qingping looked at her daughter and replied with a low voice, can I choose the second? I want to be near Yinin, and going abroad is not convenient. No problem. Tang Xiu took out his mobile phone and dialed Miao Wentong's number. He asked his help to hire 2 professional housekeeper instructors from abroad. After asking about the fee, he found that the price was not cheap as it would take 3 million yuan for 2 months of training. After having called, Tang Xiu said, I've contacted my connections, they should be coming over in a short time. And one other thing, I'm not from Jingmen Island, so you will follow me to live in Star City. We'll rest here for a night and then we'll return to Star City tomorrow. Mu Qingping nodded and said, I'll listen to your orders. Tang Xiu then exhorted her, you must study hard in your butlership training. When you have finished your training, I hope you can live with Yinin on the Pacific Ocean. I have bought a private island there. Its size is more than 10 square kilometers. So I'll have to hire a large number of workers and servants there. A private island? More than 10 square kilometers? Mu Qingping was awestruck by Tang Xiu's words. Only then did she realize that she was simply ignorant and knew nothing about Tang Xiu's status. Divine Dr. Tang, why would you make me and Yinin live on an island in the Pacific Ocean? How about Yinin's study? Wouldn't it be the same that she would live an isolated life, cut off from the rest of the world? Mu Qingping asked. Tang Xiu said, living in seclusion for cultivators is but a normal practice. However, since now is a new era, I won't be that strict and old-styled. I'll hire the topmost educators and professors to teach her. Her teachers would not be less than 10 people, and I'll also give her 2 months of vacation each year for her to travel outside and learn through direct experience in society. Mu Qingping said with a hesitation, wouldn't it be too exaggerated? For only one child, Yinin, to have such a grand scale of treatment. Tang Xiu said, I have my plans, you don't need to worry and say anything. Afterwards, Tang Xiu imparted an immortal cultivation method to Mu Qingping, directed her, and then sent her to her guest room. Since Gu Yin had become his personal disciple, it was necessary to teach Gu Yin the best immortal cultivation technique in the immortal world for her. And it was very fortunate that he had a set of supreme cultivation technique which was suitable for Gu Yin's cultivation. Secret Art of 9 Heavens Ice Phoenix. This cultivation technique was one of the supreme cultivation techniques in the immortal world for hundreds of thousands of years. Each person who mastered this cultivation technique, as long as they did not fall down halfway, would eventually become important powerhouses in the immortal world. With his current cultivation base, Tang Xiu was unable to impart the contents of this cultivation technique via direct transmission to Gu Yin. He also had no means to create the jade slips for it. He could only teach her step by step from scratch. For example, human anatomy identification, meridians, dantian, mind C, and so on. Much to Tang Xiu's satisfaction, Gu Yin was extremely intelligent and learned quickly. In the next 2 hours, she had grasped all the most basic things. Now, I'll teach you the secret art of 9 Heavens Ice Phoenix, and you need to memorize it seriously, without mistakes. But do bear in mind that you must never disclose and privately teach this cultivation technique to anyone. Not even your mother. Tang Xiu warned. Gu Yin cleverly nodded. At 2:30 a.m. when Tang Xiu finally completed teaching the secret art of 9 heavens Ice Phoenix to Gu Yin. Then, he let her try to induce her energy circulation. Although her first attempt failed, but Tang Xiu knew that it was normal. For an ordinary person, wanting to sense energy circulation and even controlling the circulation of energy, even months would be needed for cultivation geniuses to have a first success. If one's aptitude was ordinary, it might even need a year or so of time. That's good. Now go and rest. Tang Xiu patted Gu Yin's head and said with a smile. Master, good night. Having gone through suffering and pains for 2 years, Gu Yin had developed a mature disposition in comparison to her peers. Although she was only 9 years old, but comparing her to teenagers, she was more sensible. Jingmen Island Region Amusement Clubhouse. Inside a luxuriously decorated king private box, Ouyang Lulu's mouth was fully filled with beer as an angry expression fully covered her beautiful face as her best boudoir friend, Huang Duo, sat beside her. The girl and Ouyang Lulu were of the same age and also had an elegant appearance. Lulu, drink less will you? Huang Duo had the makings of a lady. Even though she sat on the sofa, she still looked dignified and virtuous. However, at this moment, concern and frustration could be seen on her complexion. Ouyang Lulu gulped clean a large glass of beer into her stomach. She was already drunk as she then said with a blazing anger, Damn, Duo, I'm really so damn unhappy. Who the hell does Tang Xiu think I am? After having occupied my villa, he kicked me out from my own place. Have you ever seen such a thick-skinned man? Huang Duo replied with a smile. I indeed have never such a thick-skinned person. However, I find him interesting. Just think. You're the embodiment of a topmost babe, but it turns out he's able to ignore you and your enticement. He even kicked you out? That's one of the rarest men in the world, of which, I thought this species has come to extinction. If later I have the chance, you must introduce him to me. Introduce your damn younger sister. Ouyang Lulu burst those bad words out and lost her ladylike appearance. But Huang Duo knew perfectly well about her character, so she did not get angry and instead spoke again with a smile. It's 2:30 right now, don't you think we should leave? You don't want to sleep on the streets tonight, do you? Still with an angry tone, Ouyang Lulu spoke. Where to? He has taken my place. Huang Duo knew that it was a taboo word that made her angry as she smiled and hugged her shoulder. Then, she said, let's go to my place. Dad gave me his newly renovated villa last month as my birthday gift. I think you've never been there. Duo, you're really the best. Ouyang Lulu's expression changed lightning fast. Her previously gloomy and cloudy face turned into a bright and beautiful sunlight in a flash as she smiled like beautiful flower. She held Huang Duo's arms and gave a little kiss on her beautiful face. She then quickly jumped up and grabbed the bag at her side and then rushed outside the private box. Ouch. When Ouyang Lulu had just rushed out of the private box's door, she bumped into a sturdy and robust chest. The impact force made her stagger and stumble backward a few steps, almost slumping to the floor. Chapter 112, Conflict. Ouyang Lulu rubbed her head and then shouted in rage even before she saw the other's appearance, Are you blind or something? You've hurt me. The one who bumped into her was a bald-shaved, arm-tattooed youth. His build was tough and stocky with fiendish looks. Especially coupled with the shining thick gold chain on his neck. A cigarette was clamped on his lips, and his brows were wrinkled. He was obviously in a bad mood. Upon hearing Ouyang Lulu's curse, the tall and burly youth stared as he strode forward and kicked Ouyang Lulu's forehead, causing her to be kicked down to the floor. He even kicked Ouyang Lulu's waist a few times, followed by his curses as though he was venting his mood, Fucking bitch. It's you who is blind. You even dare to blame this father. If you dare to fucking curse with your foul mouth, also your lips. Huang Duo, who just came out from the private box carrying the bags, happened to see the scene where she was being kicked. Her complexion greatly changed as she immediately rushed to Ouyang Lulu's side and spread her hands to protect Ouyang Lulu. She glared angrily at the tall and burly youth and snapped, "Who the hell are you? Why did you hit this girl?" The tall and burly youth did not see Ouyang Lulu clearly, but he could see the graceful Huang Duo clearly. His face changed immediately as the angry expression on his face disappeared. He touched his chin and even showed a harassing look as he said with a fiendish laugh, "I'm indeed in the wrong, I really shouldn't kick this girl. I should use my other body part to show her how powerful I am." "How about it? Are you her sister? Do you want to try my other powerful body part? You are shameless." Huang Duo cursed in rage. The tall and burly youth evilly laughed. "Wait until we're on the bed, I will make you know how shameless I am." Having said that, the tall and burly youth moved his hand to catch Huang Duo. Huang Duo dodged to the side and easily pulled up Ouyang Lulu from the floor. After a few steps backward, she shouted, "You damned thug, get the fuck out." The first time Ouyang Lulu hit him she was not fully aware, but now she had gotten back her composure as she stared at the burly and tall youth and then shouted, "You can't let him get out. Nobody except my father dares to hit me on Jingmen Island." The moment the tall and burly youth saw Ouyang Lulu's appearance, his complexion immediately blanked for a short moment as a burning light suddenly flashed from his eyes. He was somewhat regretting hitting such a beautiful girl. However, since the arrow had been shot, there was no turning back again, so he could only bite the bullet and brace himself. Whilst sneering and showing an arrogant manner he said, "Acting big, eh? Talking big and powerful? Let alone on Jingmen Island, even if I was in Shanghai or Beijing, nobody dares to speak to me like that." Ouyang Lulu rubbed some parts of her body that were very sore because of the kicks. She ferociously glared at the tall burly youth. Whilst in extreme anger, she still spoke with a smile, "Well, you're even more arrogant than me, huh? But if you have the guts, then wait here. If I can't make you fall down to the ground, I'll follow your surname." After having said that, she immediately took her mobile and dialed a familiar number. Her eyes flashed and suddenly pressed the dial button directly. The number turned out to be Tang Xiu's number she got from an investigation. "Who is this?" A low and deep voice came from the phone. Ouyang Lulu loudly said, "Tang Xiu, since you live in my house, don't you owe me one? I don't have a place to spend the night, so I had to go to the Regent Amusement Clubhouse to karaoke, and somebody hit me here. Now I need your help. Can you come here? If you're hit by somebody, just find your dad." After having silent for a moment, Tang Xiu whispered his answer. "What did you say?" Ouyang Lulu's voice was raised by a few decibels. Tang Xiu spoke again helplessly, "Okay, just wait there. I'll catch up with you quickly. Pay attention, to your safety." When such a caring voice came out of the phone, a slight beyond expectation expression was revealed on Ouyang Lulu's face. She was not worried about the means to deepen her relationship with Tang Xiu, and now the opportunity was right before her. She knew that Tang Xiu was a cultivator and his strength should be powerful. After hesitating for a short while, she decided not to call her subordinates again. What an ability! Asking for help in such a fine way to lure and goad somebody to act, huh? After he watched Ouyang Lulu make a call, the tall and burly youth sneered afterward. Ouyang Lulu stared angrily at the burly youth. She pulled Huang Duo back into the private box and at the same time, also dialed Regent Amusement Clubhouse's general manager's number. She quickly reported in a simple explanation and then hung up the phone. "If you really got the balls, just come in and wait." After Ouyang Lulu entered the private box, she didn't forget to loudly shout those words. The burly youth rolled his white eyes as he took out his phone and made a phone call, calling his companions, and then they entered the private box. He quickly swept around the private box's interior and then swaggeringly went over to sit down on the sofa, curling one of his legs onto the other. He then smoked a cigarette as he said whilst laughing. Looks like you are very rich, eh? You're even able to spend the money for such an upscale private box. But I gotta tell you something. You'd better apologize to me if you don't want to drag your family into a calamity just because of a little trouble, and then wait comfortably to serve me for a night. Ouyang Lulu angrily, in your fucking dreams. The burly youth proudly replied, you can play hard and reluctantly admit your mistake, but you can wait for your reinforcement to be utterly defeated, then I will have your mouth softened. Huang Duo gently pulled Ouyang Lulu's lower hem and whispered, this guy is way too arrogant, he might really have some background. Is that thing Tang Xiu you've called reliable? Else, should I call my dad? Ouyang Lulu thought a second before she shook her head and said, it's fine, I'll send a message to my big bro. Hey, what's going on here? At the moment, more than 10 strong big men burst into the private box's door led by a middle-aged man in a suit with gold-rimmed glasses. He looked at the inside of the private box to see the situation as he asked loudly. The sturdy youth rolled his eyes and cursed, who the fuck are you? Just get the fuck out. The middle-aged man glanced coldly at the burly youth before his complexion then changed with concern, fear, and trepidation, asking, Miss Ouyang, are you all right? I'm really sorry for the problem and hope you can forgive us. Our security will take care of this problem. Anyone who dares to make trouble for our region amusement clubhouses, we will deal with them. Bah. You don't fear that you'll swallow those big words back, it seems. I want to see for myself today, what ability does this cheap region amusement clubhouse got, even daring to deal with my brother? From the private box's entrance, 3 youths came in whilst smoking their cigarettes. The one who just spoke was a very handsome young man in the middle. Li Xueming frowned. He had encountered a lot of young master playboys from a lot of powerful families ever since he became the Regent Amusement Clubhouse's general manager, but never once had he ever seen these youths in front of him. He knew perfectly well that today's incident would create big trouble. After all, Ouyang Lulu was the young lady of Ouyang family, while Huang Duo is the only daughter of the Huang family's head. These 2 little ancestors' background were absolutely scary and had a tremendous influence on Jingmen Island. Who are you? Li Xueming asked with a sinking voice. That youth replied with a sneer, do you know Wei Guiqiang? He's my father. I have been studying abroad in recent years, but I've never thought that when I just came back and wanted to entertain some of my friends from afar, you swept that excitement away. Regent Amusement Clubhouse's manager, eh? What bull crap. Even if your big boss came, he'd also have to bow down in front of me. Wei Guiqiang? The big boss of the Bright Radiance Group? Li Xueming wryly smiled secretly in his heart. Although the Bright Radiance Group's strength could not be compared to the Ouyang family, but it was also a very powerful family on Jiangmen Island, almost on par with the Huang family. He knew that today's matter would not end peacefully, and he could not run away from this trouble in front of him. Regardless of that, after having weighed the pros and cons, he decisively stood at Ouyang Lulu's side, and then spoke with a sank voice. Wei Guiqiang is indeed a respectable person, but his son turns out to be a rotten straw bag. Take those 4 and catch them. More than 10 security personnel swarmed over after getting the order as though ferocious wolves and tigers, as they rushed over toward the 4 people. You dare. Never in his dreams had Wei Chao ever thought that even though he had used his father's name, this Regent Amusement Clubhouse would still dare to act against him. Today, he invited his 2 friends from, and each one's background was no worse than his family's. Shame. He felt that his face was swept clean at this moment. A cold light flashed from the burly youth's eyes. His body burst out instantly as his big fists fiercely punched several security personnel and knocked them out. His speed was very fast, swift, and sharp, easily avoiding a security personnel's hands which were about to catch him, as his fist punched down at the security guy's forehead. The other two youths were also not idle. Their looks were ordinary, but their martial arts were also extremely amazing. Not only they acted fast, but their strikes were ruthless and vicious. Bang bang bang. More than 10 tall and strong security personnel were all overthrown by the burly youth and the other two youngsters, within just half a minute. The burly youth trampled on a security personnel's head as he stared at Li Xueming and coldly snorted, "Only a few people dare to hit this father since my childhood up to now. You did have the courage, and your region amusement clubhouse is also good. But I dare guarantee that today's matter will end with you kneeling before me, begging me to break your legs, and sewing your mouth." Ouyang Lulu and Huang Duo were not frightened by the scene in front. Although they were shocked by those three youths' fighting strength, but the two girls were, after all, from a powerful and respected family, and had seen a lot of amazing scenes. You do indeed have the capital to be arrogant. However, you can hit more than 10 people, but more than 100? 1,000? I really want to see you showcasing your skills facing a gang up. Ouyang Lulu clapped her hands with eyes full of contempt. The burly young man replied with a wild laugh, "You're such hot girl, eh? You've got style. If you have the ability, regardless if you call 100 or 1,000 people, just bring them on. This big daddy will take them on. Do carve in your mind, I'm called Wang Hu from Xibei. Don't need to wait till having a one-night stand with me for you to know this big daddy's name." Ouyang Lulu was silent for a moment. She took her mobile in front of the burly youth, Wang Hu's face, and dialed a number, asking, "Old friend, have you heard of Wang Hu from Xibei? A big arrogant chap?" "Yi, I heard of him. A little nobody." Chu Yi's sleepy and hazy voice came over from the cell phone. Ouyang Lulu said, "Okay. I got it." Chapter 113, Incurring Hatred. Ouyang Lulu hung up the phone with a deadpan expression as she looked at Wang Hu and said, "I know you're indeed very famous in the Xibei region since my old classmate has also heard your name. However, you'd better not think that you could get out easily after offending me today." The tall and burly youth said with contempt, "Pretentious." Ouyang Lulu no longer spoke as she folded her arms, leaned on the sofa, and watched the burly youth and those few youths indifferently. She was somewhat worried upon seeing their strength. She did not know when Tang Xiu would arrive and whether he was able to face them. Cultivators should be very powerful, right? Ouyang Lulu pondered inside. The tall and burly youth turned toward Wei Chao and waved as he spoke with a light laugh, "Young Master Wei, you seem to have been gone for too long from Jingmen Island that even the people have already forgotten your name. Wasn't your family very powerful? But this region amusement clubhouse turns out to not give any face to your father." Such a sarcastic remark made Wei Chao's complexion turn crimson. He looked at Ouyang Lulu and Huang Duo with a more unsightly look. He secretly made up his mind to make these two girls pay the price after this matter ended. 20 minutes later, Tang Xiu appeared outside the private box. When he entered the room, his brows wrinkled upon seeing his security personnel knocked down everywhere, as well as seeing a burly young man trample on one of them. With an ice-cold expression, he looked at Ouyang Lulu and said, "Are you all right?" Ouyang Lulu's eyes brightened up as she suddenly jumped up from the sofa. She pointed at the burly youth and 3 others and said, "I'm fine. But those damn chaps are hoodlums and very arrogant, they even wanted us." With cold eyes, Tang Xiu could tell that Ouyang Lulu came out to drink tonight. And it was obviously because he occupied her villa. But her red forehead and a few footprints on her body told the truth that she clearly had been hit. Who hit her? The burly youth was about to stand up, but another youth got up and came over before Tang Xiu with a contemptuous look, speaking at him with a mocking tone. "Che, who the fuck is it? Playing hero to save a beauty and coming alone?" Bang! Tang Xiu kicked the youth in the chest with a lightning speed. He didn't look as strong or as sturdy like the burly youth, but along with the thumping sound, his body was directly sent flying onto the coffee table, smashing the coffee table's glass. "Who else? Come at me and get the hell out." Tang Xiu's voice was extremely pressing but carried along with it an extremely cold tone. The burly youth and the other youth's complexion changed. Although Tang Xiu's kick could be said to be a sudden attack, but the speed was extremely fast as they were unable to see it clearly even though they were staring at him. An expert. They nodded at each other. Since they have fought countless fights together, they moved forward 2 steps at the same time to face Tang Xiu, saying, "I'm the one who hit her. Playing a deity, aren't you? Why don't you mind your own fucking business?" Tang Xiu did not reply, nor did he ask about their identities. He trod on forward with a strange footwork and bolted 4 or 5 meters in an instant as he appeared in front of the 2 of them. He gripped his fist and as he kicked and sent the burly youth flying, at the same time, he severely hit the other youth's face. Crack, crack, bang, bang. A clear sound of broken bones and screams followed from the youths. When Tang Xiu's fist hit the youth, his kicking leg was blocked by the burly youth's arms. However, Tang Xiu's body then twisted and moved in a strange posture as he swayed as though he was flying toward the burly youth's left side and hit him with a meteor-like fist strike. He did exert sufficient speed, but only used half of his strength. Bang bang. The tall and sturdy youth growled lowly as Tang Xiu's fist smashed his arms. He retreated backward again and was forced backward to the wall. His complexion greatly changed and he was in pain as Tang Xiu followed and used his leg as though a whip to fiercely kick his face, causing his body to be lifted up, as his head then severely hit the floor. Tang Xiu coldly snorted and bolted directly toward the unconscious burly youth. He grabbed his neck as though grabbing a dead dog and fiercely slapped him. "Paw paw paw." The burly youth was slapped more than 10 times, causing his cheeks to be swollen up as he was awakened by the slaps. Tang Xiu then easily threw him to the corner and then rushed toward the other 2 youths. Under the gaze of everyone's eyes, he beat those youths ruthlessly as he hit them and made the 2 youths scream again and again. Only after the 2 of them screamed and begged for mercy did he stop beating them. Huang Duo, who had run toward Ouyang Lulu's side, held Ouyang Lulu's arm. At the moment, her eyes were as though filled with blazing fire as she looked dumbfoundedly at Tang Xiu, who savagely beat his opponents. "So damn handsome, he's so cool. He's a man amongst men, the best amongst the best. Damn, it's not good, I really like him. Lulu, you must not compete with me. I've fallen in love with him. Hit them good. Hit them again." With a dumbfounded expression, Ouyang Lulu looked at the miserable burly youth and the others. She then looked at Tang Xiu, who moved as though a light cloud that was blown by the wind, and then sat on the sofa. Her heart was throbbing and palpitating. Yes. He was really cool and handsome. At this very moment, Tang Xiu in her eyes was like a knight in a shining golden armor. A hero who trod on the colorful clouds and descended to save a beauty. Not even a word that was full of admiration and worship, what her boudoir friend, Huang Duo, had said entered her ears. Li Xueming, who was originally restless and anxious, also did not expect that such a scene would unfold in front of him. What he was expecting was that the Ouyang family would send one of their elders to rescue Ouyang Lulu as per her plead, and then let the Ouyang family handle this kind of big matter. But this unknown youngster unexpectedly cleaned up the 3 youths with such formidable martial arts alone. He's really strong and powerful. Deep in his heart he shouted his admiration. All the security personnel employed by the Region Amusement Clubhouse were all experts who had undergone training. If they were such street thugs or local hoodlums, they would be able to deal with 2 or 3 of them easily. But those 3 youths were able to knock down more than 10 security personnel. Tang Xiu grabbed a bottle of beer, opened the cap and sipped it. He looked at Ouyang Lulu and then said, "I've packed them up. Are you satisfied now? If you have yet to be satisfied, you can beat them to your heart's content. Remember, you can savagely beat them and leave injury marks, but you'd better not kill them. I'm only a little nobody and have neither the influence or power, so killing them would be troublesome. Of course, since your Ouyang family is powerful and has more power, you can directly kill them should you not be afraid to face the responsibilities." Ouyang Lulu gulped her saliva. Her dull eyes turned sober and calmed down. She then looked at the burly youth and the others who tried to crawl and get up but fell again and again. Then, she grabbed a bottle and turned around toward Wei Chao, whose face had turned deathly white as though a piece of white paper. Ouyang Lulu fiercely hit his head and said, "You said Wei Guiqiang is your father, didn't you? Your family is the Bright Radiance group? Causing you to be arrogant, harping, and boasting around and unable to see a empty tie? And even dare to hook up with these 3 hoodlums." The bottle cracked and blasted as liquor and blood then mixed together. Ouyang Lulu smashed 6 bottles onto Wei Chao's head, causing him to directly faint. Then, she took a smashed bottom bottle and walked toward the burly youth and pressed it 2 times in a cross shape onto his cheek. After that, only then did she stop. The 2 wounds, interestingly formed in Kexi shape. Bang. The private box's door was shut after Tang Xiu entered, and now somebody kicked the door open from the outside as a 30-years-old man then strode and rushed into the private box, followed by 4 men with steady footsteps, especially a particularly strong and sturdy middle-aged man. "Lulu, are you all right?" When Ouyang Lei rushed into the private box, he happened to see Ouyang Lulu carving the wounds on the burly youth. The sudden words, "Holy shit," he was about to shout was blocked inside his throat. Ouyang Lulu replied with a laugh, "Brother, I'm fine." Looking at the scene inside the private box, Ouyang Lei then spoke with a sinking voice, "What the hell has happened? You texted me that somebody hit you. Who was it?" Ouyang Lulu pointed to the burly youth and angrily replied, "It's him. He even shouted to make me accompany him for a night. Big brother, he harassed me with a lot of profane words and insults." Ouyang Lei strode forward. He did want to wake up the 4 of them and give them another series of savage beatings. However, upon seeing the miserable state they were in, his mouth twitched a few times and finally did not act. It was awful and way too miserable. It was unimaginable for him as to whom had acted that ruthlessly, to even turn the 4 of them into such a state. Even if they were not killed, weren't they also beaten half dead? Knowing that Ouyang Lei was Ouyang Lulu's older brother, Tang Xiu put down the bottle in hand and immediately spoke lightly, "Ouyang Lulu, since your family has come, I'll go back first. I've spent most of the night only to comply with your call. If it were not because of you, I would have rested already." Ouyang Lulu quickly blocked Tang Xiu. Her attitude now and before was completely different as she smiled gracefully and said, "Have you finished your important matter? Can I go back with you? You can see that I have been beaten, so I need to go back and have some medication." Tang Xiu nodded and said, "Fine, you can go back with me." With a silly expression, Ouyang Lei looked at Ouyang Lulu and Tang Xiu. It was the content of their conversation that made him shocked. Going back together? Are they in a relationship? Are they already living together? Ouyang Lei's body trembled as he quickly stopped Ouyang Lulu and asked, "Wait, little sis. You didn't create the trouble, but yet you haven't told me about it clearly. Also, who's this guy you want to go back with? Are the 2 you living together?" Ouyang Lulu squinted her eyes and replied with a smile, "Big brother, I'll tell you about the matter later. In short, you just wake them up and make them crawl when they leave this clubhouse."
Ah.
Yes, help me escort Huang Duo back home, it's so late and I don't want someone I can't trust escorting her home. Ouyang Lei shouted angrily, hell no, you haven't answered my question. Ouyang Lulu said with a laugh, big brother, why should you be angry? You didn't even let me find a boyfriend previously, so I might as well marry quickly. And, he's very good. You. Ouyang Lei was left speechless. Ouyang Lulu looked at her brother's defeated expression. Her smile immediately getting thicker and then said, ah. Well, I'll tell you then. He's Tang Xiu, my savior. Today, if it were not for him, I could have been bullied by these hoodlums. He lives in my villa, so I'll just go back with him. He lives in your house. Chapter 114, Tween a Massage. The anger on Ouyang Lei's face disappeared and was replaced by a deep surprise. He was perfectly aware of his sister's judgment ability, and her standard was unusually high. How many outstanding youths had his sister refused and not taken a liking to? But this youth called Tang Xiu, could he be more outstanding than those talented youths? In the next moment, with a smile surfacing on his face, he walked toward Tang Xiu and carefully observed him while speaking with a smile. You're Tang Xiu? Since you and my lil sis have an unusual relationship, then I won't say thanks to you. I'm Ouyang Lei, Lulu's big brother. Since we brothers will be closer in the future, I'll ask you to help with the problems in my family. Helping their family? With a quizzical expression Tang Xiu looked at Ouyang Lei. He could feel that these words had profound meanings of which he couldn't guess at. Eventually, he secretly shook his head as he looked at Ouyang Lei and then said, I'm very tired and quite sleepy. So I'll leave the aftermath here for you to handle. Having spoken that, he brushed past Ouyang Lei and stepped out of the private box. For a second Ouyang Lei stared blankly. He watched at the leaving Tang Xiu's back and also saw his little sister that was like a small maidservant who followed him and went out, leaving the older brother gaping and at a loss for words. This brother-in-law, the husband of his little sis. Wasn't he way too eccentric? Huang Duo turned gloomy. She just heard that Ouyang Lulu said that she and Tang Xiu lived together, giving her an intense feeling of loss. Although she knew that Ouyang Lulu was not really living together with Tang Xiu, but she could tell from Ouyang Lulu's expression that she did have the thought about it. Did I just fall in love at first sight? Huang Duo stamped her foot as she helplessly turned her head and looked at Ouyang Lei. With a wry and forced smile covering his whole face, Ouyang Lei shook his head as he also realized Wang Duo's expression. He immediately smiled and said, well, I'll send someone to escort you home. I'll stay here and take care of the aftermath. Ah. Right. If you're not rushed, can you tell me about what had happened in detail? Huang Duo was in a depressed mood and she didn't want to say anything more, so she asked Ouyang Lei to be escorted home directly. Inside the private box, Li Xueming and Ouyang Lei had a small chat as Li Xueming told him everything he knew. He didn't know much about what had happened since he only received a call from Ouyang Lulu and then led his people to rush over. What did you say? You brought more than 10 security personnel and all of them were knocked down? Then Tang Xiu knocked those 3 down alone? Are you joking me? Ouyang Lei looked at Li Xueming in disbelief as he involuntarily exclaimed out loud. Li Xueming let out a forced smile and said, Mr. Ouyang, do you think I would be joking with you? There are a lot of people here. Mr. Tang is really powerful, and I've never seen such a powerful expert like him. Ouyang Lei gulped down his saliva. He became more curious about this future brother-in-law of his. He secretly analyzed that the 4 big guys he brought here, each and every one of them was an outstanding master. They were special force members in the army, and were very powerful. But if the 4 of them were to knock down these 4 playboys like that, perhaps they would not be able to do so. Old Biao, between an expert, you should be able to tell clearly, what do you think about Tang Xiu? Ouyang Lei turned around as he asked in a deep tone. I can't see his depth. The big man shook his head and said. Ouyang Lei narrowed his eyes. He took out his mobile and dialed a number. After the call was picked up, he then said with a deep tone, investigate someone for me. He's called Tang Xiu, about 20 years old. 20 minutes later, Tang Xiu and Ouyang Lulu had returned to the villa. Ouyang Lulu's attitude toward Tang Xiu had changed and her tone had become particularly cordial. Tang Xiu quite accepted such a change since he, and everyone else, also disliked being treated with bad manners. Since the servants had all been sent home and Mu Qingping and her daughter had also slept, the entire villa was empty and unusually quiet. Since he just went out and his body was dirted with blood and also smelled like liquor, he asked where the bathroom was, and then went out to take a bath. I don't have any clean clothes. Having finished the shower, only then did Tang Xiu realize that he did not carry any clothes. After half a minute passed by, he thought that Ouyang Lulu should have been upstairs and resting. Then he only put on his boxer and left the bathroom whilst holding his dirty clothes. You done showering? Ouyang Lulu was folding her arms as she stood at the corner of the corridor. Upon seeing that Tang Xiu was out, a faint smile hung on her beautiful face. Tang Xiu was stunned. He was nearly naked, but Ouyang Lulu unexpectedly looked at him over and over again. Subconsciously, he covered his lower part with his dirty clothes. Is there a problem? Seeing such an awkward and embarrassing Tang Xiu, Ouyang Lulu suddenly was struck with a big sense of interest all of a sudden and then said with a ruminating expression, it's just a little thing. No matter how I look at you, you're very thin, and I didn't expect that. But your streamlined and trained muscles are really attractive. No wonder even those three guys with such powerful fighting strength were totally defeated and beaten so miserably by you. Tang Xiu replied with a blackened face. You don't even have a little bit of shyness and shame at seeing a guy not wearing any proper clothes? Don't you know that men and women have some lines about this? Since it's only a small problem, then bother me no longer and take your time to rest. Ouyang Lulu said, but I'm afraid of the pain. With a confused expression Tang Xiu replied, just go to sleep will you? What relations could it have between pain and your fear? Ouyang Lulu said, that bastard kicked me so hard that the spots kicked by him are very painful now. Although my family has the medicine to treat bruises and such, I feel no effect even though I have used and spread the medicine on the wounds. You're a highly skilled divine doctor, can you help me relieve the pain? With that said, she pitifully pointed to her waist and back. She's really troublesome. Tang Xiu whispered inside as he replied with a calm expression, fine. For the sake of making you leave tonight, I'll help you with a twina massage. Let's go to your room. Twina massage? In my room. Ouyang Lulu's beautiful face flushed crimson to the ears as she involuntarily thought of the aftermath of the single man and woman staying together in one room. Hey, will my chastity that I have been preserving for more than 20 years be handed over today? But the second this thought emerged, she immediately vetoed it. She did admit that Tang Xiu indeed attracted her a little bit, but it had yet to reach the point for her to be faithful till death do us apart situation. She could only give her pure and chaste body to her most beloved husband in the future, and it absolutely must not to be surrendered over so easily. After having thought of up to this point, she secretly suppressed down her swaying heart and then said, you want to go to my bedroom? Tang Xiu stared blankly for a moment. He looked down at his body as awkwardness and embarrassment suddenly emerged on his face. He strode back to his room and quickly put on clean clothes and secretly felt relieved. It was an undeniable truth that Ouyang Lulu was a beauty. And even heroes had a weakness in front of the charms of beautiful women. He did have a habit in admiring beauties, and he would also never refuse if a stunning and outstanding beauty seduced him. However, since he was a cultivator, He liked to let nature take its course and did not want to be controlled by his innermost feelings nor lust. It was said, a women's chamber was the most mysterious place, but was also the most yearned place for countless of men. Tang Xiu had had a partner, but she was very simple and lacked such an ambience a young girl usually had, so her companion's chamber decoration was also very simple. Shortly put, it was his first time ever entering a young girl's chamber in the truest sense. "This is your bedroom?" The moment Tang Xiu followed Ouyang Lulu and entered her bedroom, Tang Xiu asked in disbelief. Ouyang Lulu replied with a shallow smile, "What? Is there a problem?" Tang Xiu smiled wryly as he shook his head and then said, "It's not that. It's just... I didn't expect that a girl's chamber would be like this." Inside the bedroom, apart from a large bed, bookshelves filled the room, with a variety of books placed on each bookshelf. In a glance, Tang Xiu could tell that the number of books inside this bedroom should at least reach 20,000. Ouyang Lulu rolled her eyes at Tang Xiu. Whilst taking off her white coat, she said, "I love reading. I spend most of my time reading, apart from managing my business and occasionally hanging out with my girlfriends. Each of my houses has the same interior, and the books here are only part of my reading collection." Tang Xiu asked in astonishment, "You have read all these books?" Ouyang Lulu said, "That is of course, otherwise, why would I put so many books here? Besides, I do have a habit of putting the books I have read in my bedroom. So whenever I'm bored, I don't have to find other books and turn over the books I want." Tang Xiu was speechless. He had seen a lot of eccentrics and freaks, but never once had he ever met such a reading freak like her. "You will really give me a tweener massage?" Ouyang Lulu asked again. She was afraid that Tang Xiu would do something illegal to her. Tang Xiu said, "Relax, my massage technique is even better than a tweener massage. I dare guarantee that after you've been tweener massaged by me, the bruises on your muscles and skins will be restored and you won't feel any pain also. Don't stand idly and be stunned, continue undressing yourself, apart from your underwear, take everything off." Ouyang Lulu's complexion was blushing red as she hesitated. According to Tang Xiu's order, that meant that she had to take everything off apart from her underwear. If she was at the beach, she dared to put on only a bikini and play at the beach. But wearing only underwear and exposing herself in front of a man inside her boudoir, it was kind of unnatural for her. "Lay on the bed." A new decree from Tang Xiu came out. Ouyang Lulu's face becoming redder. But still, she laid on the bed obediently. Looking at such a perfect devilish body, Tang Xiu secretly praised it inside. Whether it was her body or her skin, they were absolutely one of a kind and absolutely the finest amongst the finest. And shortly after, his eyes quickly fell on Ouyang Lulu's waist and back. That bastard was really ruthless and did not even show any tenderness in doing this. Tang Xiu cursed secretly as he stood beside Ouyang Lulu's back and began to gently press her back with his hands. Ugh. The innermost heart of Ouyang Lulu trembled as she almost hummed out loud. Apart from her father who touched her when she was a child, no man had ever touched her before. She could clearly feel the warmth emitted out from Tang Xiu's hands, as well as sensing a jolting feeling like an electrical current stung and flowed in her body. Chapter 115, Returning to Star City. Such thoughts that Ouyang Lulu had did not occur to Tang Xiu, nor did it distract him. He was basically treating Ouyang Lulu entirely based on a doctor-patient relationship. At the beginning, he massaged gently and began to add more strength in the later part. His technique was unusual and constantly focused on Ouyang Lulu's back and the side of her waist. Time passed by. The pain gradually lessened until Ouyang Lulu felt no pain, and instead, she felt very comfortable. The comfy feeling made her infatuated, even giving birth to the thoughts of letting Tang Xiu's hands continue to do it eternally. At this moment, bursts of intermittent ripples in her heart had all disappeared as a deep enjoyment replaced it and covered her face. Gradually, she began to fight her eyelids from closing as she unconsciously fell into a deep sleep under Tang Xiu's massage. Huff. After a long while, only then did Tang Xiu stop massaging. He secretly took a deep breath and grabbed the blanket on the side to cover Ouyang Lulu's body. Then, he turned around and left the bedroom. Some might say that a man bullying a woman was the same as a beast, but a man who did not bully a woman was even worse than a beast. But Tang Xiu did not defer to this saying. To him, the things between men and women were particularly and heavily reliant on each other's feelings and willingness. If there was no emotional attachment between them, having sexual intercourse was the same as people that behaved like animals. The next day. It was 10 a.m. when Tang woke up from his sleep. He took a short shower and went downstairs to the first floor. When he saw that the nanny who was busy cooking in the kitchen and Mu Qingping sitting on the sofa, he asked with an astonished expression, "Ouyang Lulu has not woken up?" Mu Qingping said with a smile, "Sincere. And I have woken up, we haven't seen her. Wasn't she driven out by you yesterday? I thought that she hasn't come back yet." Tang Xiu shook his head and said, "She came back last night. Anyways, just forget it, regardless of her issue, we'll leave for Star City after we have our lunch." Yes. Can you book plane tickets online? Mu Qingping said, "Okay. I'll do it right away." The lunch was great and the nanny who returned this morning realized that Tang Xiu was an honorable guest, so all the dishes being prepared were unusually delicious, coupled with the hot soup that made their appetite grow. "Let's go." After having sated their hunger and thirst, Tang Xiu still did not see that Ouyang Lulu had woken up and he did not have the intention to personally bid her farewell. Whilst carrying his travel bag, he held Gu Yin's small hand as they left. As for the medicinal herbs and the materials he had bought, he already sent them to Star City via the courier company on the way to the villa yesterday. A lot of things had happened in the last 5 to 6 days. Tang Xiu secretly sighed when he stepped his foot into Star City again. Even though he got quite the harvest on this long journey, there was also some slight regret because he still did not know the Everlasting Feast Hall's founder. As to whether the restaurant had a special relationship with his first apprentice that he had received thousands of years ago. In Southgate Town. The first thing Tang Xiu did when he returned home was to charge his phone's battery. He had experienced a lot of things in the last 2 days, but after he boarded the plane he remembered that there were no phone calls in the last 2 days. Having seen his phone, it turned out that his phone was out of battery and had long shut down automatically. After booting the phone, Banzhou was the first person Tang Xiu contacted, of whom he got the news that the fierce beast's remains he bought from Tangdong had already been sent to the freezer compartment, in the Old Street River area. Then, he ordered Banzhou and Dingxi to wait momentarily for the 6 fierce beast corpses that were being delivered there. There were a few days left to report to school from the 1 week of holiday Gong Daolong had helped him get. And Tang Xiu did not want to go back to school ahead of time. He had long finished learning the high school's curriculum and could take the college entrance test at any time, so he felt that it would only be a waste of time to stay in the classroom every day. So, for the last 2 days, Tang Xiu decided to make the Golden Bell liquid. His cultivation was stuck at the vitality tempering peak stage, causing him not to rashly cultivate. Only after he reached the skin strengthening stage did he feel that he would have the assurance to safely survive in today's society. After having properly settled Mu Qingping and Gu Yin, he rushed to the Old Street River area where he had ordered Banzhou to drive a small container van and wait for him there. In the afternoon, Banzhou and Dingxi were squatting next to a small container van in front of the freezer compartment at the River Street Old area. Seeing that Tang Xiu had come, they immediately put out their cigarettes and quickly greeted him. "Boss, what are your orders?" Tang Xiu said, "I'll choose some fierce animal bones and remains, and you help me deliver them to my Southgate townhouse. Take the 1 million yuan in this bag I got on the way here. You'll need the money and will have to go to many places later to help me. And do remember to call me whenever money runs out. 1 million? At the same time, Banzhou and Dingxi glanced at the black bag given by Tang Xiu. They had never seen such a huge sum of money, especially 1 million yuan in cash. Immediately after, their attitude toward Tang Xiu became more deferential as they felt that their choice to follow Tang Xiu was becoming more and more correct. After a long while, Tang Xiu had selected some good materials and ordered Banzhou and Dingxi to move them to the small container van. Since the materials composition for the Golden Bell liquids recipe now was different from the recipe in the Immortal world, he prepared a lot of materials for it, even filling half of the small container. I should take the driver's license test if I have time later. Tang Xiu felt that a car was really inconvenient. He couldn't help but secretly think that once he was able to use a flying sword, he would be able to traverse thousands of miles in one step. But now, he had to start everything from scratch, and having no means of transportation was really troublesome, especially in present society. On the way back to the South Gate town, Tang Xiu asked Banzhou about his mother's situation. And upon hearing that the restaurant and its business was doing well and flourishing, he felt slightly relieved. "Boss, I don't know how to say it to you, but there's something I want to report." Whilst driving, Banzhou hesitantly spoke. Tang Xiu asked, "What's up?" "Tell me." Banzhou said, "Boss, Su Shangguan came to the restaurant yesterday and wanted to borrow some money from your mother. And your kind-hearted mother kept thinking that Su Shangguan had helped you, so she came up with 100,000 yuan and lent it to him. But he thought that it was too few, so not only did he not accepted the money, but he instead spoke a lot of curses." Su Shangguan. Tang Xiu's brows slanted as cold lights flashed from his eyes. He thought that after the things that happened at Star City Medicinal Herbs Market previously, he had learned his lesson and would no longer disturb his family again. But he had never thought that he still dared to be arrogant to his mother even though his visit was to borrow some money. Such a family like Su Shangguan was just like a fly in Tang Xiu's heart and he really disliked him. If he could, he would have Su Shangguan's family disappear from this world forever. Blood is thicker than water? What a big joke. Without feeling and emotional attachment, what's the use of being of the same blood and coming from the same root? If he dares to do anything excessive again, I won't hesitate to kick his family out of Star City, even out of the country. Tang Xiu silently thought as he turned his head and looked outside through the window. Star City Purple Gold Garden upscale area. With an unsightly expression, Su Shangguan sat in his study room with a notebook opened in front of him, looking at the screen that showed the interface of his remaining bank account balance. He had heard the saying that, when the tree was toppled down all the monkeys would scatter. He was personally experiencing it right now. Ever since Qin Zhizhong targeted his real estate company, his business faced a lot of difficulties and was on the verge of bankruptcy. Even though afterward Qin Zhizhong spared him, it was becoming worse day by day. A lot of suppliers intentionally raised the price of building materials, causing serious miscalculations in the budget of his most important project. And just like a house that leaked along with the heavy rain, the bank that previously gave their words to lend him a large sum of capital also did not give him any news. Recently, he had visited the bank a lot of times and even promised a lot of commission for the bank's executives, but then they intentionally played Tai Chi with him. Even the manager's attitude had indicated that he could not give the load even though their friendship would continue. Under such desperation, only then did he think about that cheap nephew of his. However, he knew what he had done before, so he did not dare to find Tang Xiu directly and instead went to the restaurant to find Su Lingyun. Much to his surprise, Su Lingyun's restaurant business was booming, and she unexpectedly was only willing to lend him 100,000 yuan. What would 100,000 yuan be enough for? It was even lower than 1/10 of the money he gave to the bank executives. Bang! Su Shangguan fiercely smashed the ashtray in his hand as fierce anger light flashed from his eyes whilst he cursed in a whisper, "What a fucking shitty sister and damned nephew. Outsiders are even better than them." When they were down in the pit, this father was the one who provided relief for them. But now that they have climbed and risen, they want to kick this father aside. What a fucking illusion. If it were not because that bastard Tang Xiu, how could my Shangguan real estate end up in such a dire situation? How could I even be regarded as a plague and being excommunicated by so many friends? I can't put my hope in the bank, neither can I rely on my fucking shitty old friends. My last hope is only to rely on Su Lingyun and Tang Xiu. I must think of a way to satisfy them and obtain my goal, so they would put out the money on their own initiative. Moreover, it's best to yield first to that small bastard Tang Xiu to approach and create a relationship with the Long Group. If I could climb up to the Long Group's top brass, only then will my Shangguan Group rake in money. Light flashed from Su Shangguan's eyes as he was deep in thought. He cast away each and every deriding thought that reappeared in his mind as he made up his mind in one go. But since he felt that he could not get to Tang Xiu, he thought that he must focus his efforts towards Su Lingyun. In Southgate Town. After having put all the materials into his villa's warehouse, Tang Xiu sent Banzhou away before he entered the warehouse. Everything had been prepared, and the only thing left was some small crucial items before he began to concoct the Golden Bell liquid. By night, the medicinal ingredients should have been delivered. What should I do now? There is still time till noon. Tang Xiu stood in the warehouse as he found that he suddenly had nothing to do and was really bored. Ring ring ring. His mobile rang and interrupted his thoughts. Tang Xiu took the phone and looked at the caller ID number. It was Long Jinglin. Then, he pressed the answer button and asked, "What's up?" "I'm very busy right now and have no time."